An aspiring politician admitting to recording former FNM Senator Lanisha Roll talk of a possible coalition between the Free National Movement and the Democratic National Alliance, and a married couple dead as a result of what is believed to be asphyxiation. Find out about these stories and others. I'm your host, Nico Scavella, and this is the Tribune's Top 5. Details emerged this week of how an armed robber forced the man to drive to an ATM, tried to force the man to go to his home for more money, and then shot the man in the neck when he tried to escape. According to reports, Angelo Black, an employee of Commonwealth Bank, was sitting in his Ford Ranger truck on Yamacraw Beach having lunch shortly after noon when he was approached by a man with a handgun who demanded cash. Mr. Black was then reportedly ordered by the suspect to drive to an ATM on Wolf Road, where the Tribune understands Mr. Black was forced to withdraw cash from his account. Reportedly dissatisfied with the amount, however, his captor then ordered Mr. Black to drive to his home, where he had hoped he could collect more money. Mr. Black resisted, however, fearing for the safety of his wife and child. According to police, Mr. Black deliberately bumped the car in front of him in order to attract attention to his life-threatening situation, then reportedly jumped out of his truck and tried to escape. However, Mr. Black was shot in the neck during his escape attempt. According to Mr. Black's father, the bullet entered and exited his neck, not damaging any vitals. The owner of the damaged car, who wished to remain anonymous, said he pulled to the side of the road after his vehicle was hit and called the ambulance. Another bystander told the Tribune that someone had wrapped a cloth around Mr. Black's neck to try and stop the bleeding until the ambulance arrived. Mr. Black is believed to be in stable condition. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, Mr. Black's father, Kingsley Black, said, and I quote, "I do wish the police catch this cold-blooded criminal and put the jail on top of him. This planet is too small for creatures like them and the rest of us. The world don't have to stop, but he can jump the hell off," end quote. Assistant Commissioner of Police Stephen Dean said police currently have no one in custody for the shooting. However, he said police have significant leads. Cabinet ministers responsible for at least 6 quasi-government institutions and agencies have failed to table audit reports, creating a lapse in the public record that contravenes the law. The investigation conducted by the Tribune revealed that it's been years since an audit report has been tabled in Parliament for institutions like the Public Hospitals Authority, the Water and Sewage Corporation, the Bahamas Broadcasting Corporation, the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation, the College of the Bahamas, and the Hotel Corporation of the Bahamas, according to parliamentary records. Records also show that financial statements for the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation were consistently tabled under the former Ingram administration, but have not been tabled since. This doesn't necessarily mean the institutions haven't had audits conducted, but it may mean that in some cases the ministers responsible for those institutions haven't tabled the audits as required. On Thursday, Environment and Housing Minister Kenrick Dorsett criticized the report, emphasizing that the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation has been conducting audits required by law. In a joint statement with BMC Chairman Alex Storr, Mr. Dorsett said the tabling of audits for 2014 and 2015 has been delayed because the BMC is in the process of finding a new company to conduct its audits. He noted that the head of the previous company, Jeffrey Beneby of Beneby & Co., died. As for 2013, Mr. Dorsett said that year's audit was completed and sent to the Cabinet Office to be approved for tabling. Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe has responsibility for the Hotel Corporation of the Bahamas, and Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez has the Public Hospitals Authority in his cabinet portfolio. Mr. Wilshcombe has said he would look into the matter, while Dr. Gomez referred the Tribune's questions to Frank Smith, chairman of the PHA Board and Audit Committee. When contacted, Herbert Brown, PHA director, said all of the audits for the past 5 years have been conducted, but could not say why they haven't been tabled. He added that the 2015 audits would be ready by June. The Hotel Corporation of the Bahamas' financial controller echoed that statement. On the other hand, Glenn LaVille, general manager of the Water and Sewage Corporation, admitted that it is the corporation's fault that no audit has been tabled since 2011. However, he said the corporation hopes to submit the reports for 2012 to 2014 by July the latest. It is unclear when was the last time an audit for the Bahamas Broadcasting Corporation has been tabled, however. With no Freedom of Information Act in place, the tabling of audit reports is one of the few accountability measures Bahamians can use to independently assess the fiscal performance of government departments and institutions. Democratic National Alliance leader Granville McCartney this week proposed for his party and the Free National Movement to join forces and work together to oust the Progressive Liberal Party government. Mr. McCartney said while the DNA will never fold up and join a, quote, sinking FNM, he proposed for the two parties to unite in a bid to defeat the PLP in the next general election. Mr. McCartney also confirmed he had been approached several times by senior members within the FNM, as well as sitting FNM MPs to join the official opposition. However, Mr. McCartney said FNM leader Dr. Hubert Minnis is, and I quote, so full of himself and bad at politics, end quote, that he refused refused the offer unless the DNA disbands, something Mr. McCartney said will never happen. Mr. McCartney said, and I quote, "If the FNM is smart and really wants to beat the PLP, they would have a real conversation about this. We are open to this, we have spoken about this, but Dr. Minnis seems to be stuck on stupid. He is not in his right mind if he thinks he can win on his own," end quote. Mr. McCartney added, and I quote, "Together we would be the worst nightmare for the PLP, and we are willing to do what it takes to rid the country of the PLP," end quote. In response, Dr. Minnis said while he is open to forming a coalition with the Democratic National Alliance, he was turned off by Mr. McCartney's arrogance. Dr. Minnis said he was disappointed with Mr. McCartney for his, and I quote, "bombastic, arrogant attitude when persons are trying to reach out and move the PLP," end quote. Dr. Minnis maintained that he was willing to have the conversation, but admitted that he had no idea how the coalition would work. Police suspect toxic fumes from a generator killed a married couple and left their infant granddaughter in critical condition Thursday morning. All three were found unresponsive by neighbors who had forced their way into the Butler Street home in Nassau Village sometime after 8 a.m. after getting no response from the deceased. Assistant Commissioner of Police Stephen Dean said the infant exhibited signs of life at the time of the discovery. All three were subsequently taken to hospital, ACP Dean said, where police later confirmed that the couple had already passed away. Neighbors identified the deceased as Brady and Princess Sims, area residents since the late 1980s. Mr. Sims was attached to the Royal Bahamas Police Force as a reserve officer at the time of his death, according to ACP Dean. The Tribune understands that his wife was an employee at the Ministry of Tourism. While an autopsy will have to confirm the cause of death, ACP Dean said it is possible that the use of a generator that was found attached to the house and left running overnight may have contributed to their deaths. He noted that the house was experiencing, and I quote, "technical issues, so there was no electricity at the time," end quote. Bahamas Power and Light, in a statement, noted that there were several outages on Wednesday evening that were caused by adverse weather conditions and, in one instance, traffic accident. However, the company said it did not have any record of outages in the Nassau Village community at the time.
FNM political aspirant Lincoln Bain this week admitted to no wrongdoing for secretly recording former FNM Senator Lanisha Roll, saying his actions were a bid to protect himself from possible sabotage.
In an interview with the Tribune, Mr. Bain claimed the recording came into play only to prove to party executives that the private meeting had taken place. Insisting that he doesn't go around recording people, Mr. Bain maintained that it will soon be abundantly clear that he is innocent of any wrongdoing. And when asked to explain this alleged sabotage, Mr. Bain responded that someone called to put him on alert about an upcoming meeting with Mrs. Roll and warned him to be careful. A day later, while a guest on Guardian Radio talk show The Revolution, Mr. Bain dismissed assertions that recording Mrs. Roll without her knowledge was unethical or deceitful. He was adamant that he did not leak the audio to set up Mrs. Roll with a view to ensuring that she would not be considered by the party as a candidate for the Pinewood Gardens constituency. Nonetheless, Mr. Bain said he believes Mrs. Roll can still have a bright future in politics, while insisting that he is saddened and sorely disappointed by her resignation from the upper chamber. Mrs. Roll resigned from the Senate last week after the Tribune exclusively published several stories regarding the audio recording in which she made disparaging comments about several FNM MPs, including Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner, during a conversation with Mr. Bain. During that meeting, she also told Mr. Bain that he would not get the nomination for the Pinewood constituency and alleged that the ratification of incumbent FNM MPs had been purposefully delayed. Dr. Dwayne Sands was appointed to fill the Senate vacancy.
Want to get in on the discussion? Well, here's how you can. Just log on to our website, www.tribune242.com, like us on Facebook, Tribune News Network, subscribe to our YouTube page, Tribune242, or send us a tweet at Tribune242.